I'll cover a use case which was exciting for us as engineers, and I'll switch to my presentation. The use case I'm going to show you right now was with a transformation project, and it is still happening. And it is a new implementation project in USA, and it was totally remote. The execution happened totally remote. It started around August 2020, and we got like around like 60 plus project users and view with due diligence from the customer team as well as the project management team. I got the approval to show that because the customer was quite happy about looking at this information and using the platform. And we had users coming across from Japan, USA, Qatar, and India. So I'll go into the project and I'll tell you and I'll show you how it looks like. So let me check that out and let me log in. Because we know Activate isn't just Activate as of now, because SAP has brought in the hybrid way of doing. It is waterfall and agile combined together. I'll be able to touch base on that very soon as well. So this one is one of the projects which we use, uh, which is active, and it has got like around 700 project work items with different statuses and different users coming to picture. And there is a burn down of activity right from, I mean, it started at around like 320 tasks, and that's how
Mhm.
the default activate does. And it grew up to almost like around 800, I guess, 800 activities. So this entire platform was managed in one single thing, and we had like around 60, 80. Now it's 80, 80 different users as part of the platform, both from the customer side, the partner side, and SAP side as well. And this is where this is how the project organization looks like. Let me go into one single uh, sign off item. And so this is how the organization looks like. We've got people from the partner. We have the people from the customer, like the project sponsor, the steering committee members, and the business team like SD, MM, EWM, TM, etc. And then we had the people from the Japan team as well, and the PMO team as well, and the audit team as well. So it's more like uh, it cuts across all the levels, like
Mhm.
the COO levels, the PMO level, and the project manager level, and the consultant level. So all of them having one single workplace for them to manage and look into everything. So I spoke of sign off, and I said I was excited about uh, putting it to great use. So this is what happened. It was a greenfield implementation. So typically that's when the blueprinting gets started. And since because it was totally remote, the solution design documents had to get signed off, and there were around like 80 different global scope items as part of the project. Now, all of them required a sign off so that it can move to the next phase, and so that it can be realized or it can be configured in the sandbox of the development system. Now, what the project team did was very fascinating. So under Explore, they created a sub sign off. Like I said, the platform is extensible to do it as per your own use case. So they build more like solution design documents for FI, and they brought in different sign off items into it. When I go into one single sign off item, it gives me uh, the sign off item and the sign off item variant underneath that, which has to get approved. So the hierarchy goes like this. The consultants are the ones who will start with the sign off, who will submit the sign off document. So if I open up a sign off, you just have the different files loaded against that. So the sign off document can be seen here. So this sign off document starts with the approval from from the consultants, and then it goes to the business end user, who in turn gets notified, and then it goes to the business process owner. So once all of these child items are completed, Then it triggers a sign off workflow to the project sponsor, who has to say this scope item is kind of approved. So it's more in terms of making sure nothing gets missed out amongst the thousands of mails we send, or hundreds of messages we transact. And this greatly reduced the amount of mails and messages that used to happen in a typical transformation project, where there are like 1,200 files generated. So when I said the sign-offs were created, we had the process catalog. Remember, we got it as part of the digital maps,
Mhm.
the list of processes from the line of business to process group, then the scope items.
Mhm.
So all of these had got the participants linked to it, like the business end users linked to it. So the platform will allow creations of sign-offs again at the top of the level. So if you select accounting and finance flows and you say create a sign-off and have it attached as part of your project plan, that's exactly how it happened. So I mean, you just have the list of process items and you can say, okay, let me just drag everybody. These are common across
Mhm.
the process items. And once you are done, and once you say just create a sign off at the scope item level, then it will inherit whatever scope item variants underneath that and the process step again underneath that, and with these users as the participants for that particular sign off. So that's exactly how the sign offs were handled as part of this particular example.
Mhm.
But the one major thing which I wanted to cover were the files. So I said you can have different tasks, and each of those tasks can generate huge amount of files. So what the files will do is that it will have different sections like control center, your sign offs, your tasks. And when you click on tasks, it will mimic your project plan. So whatever project plan you had, the folder structure or the system structure will look like your project plan. So a face, underneath that
Mhm.
different work packages, underneath that could be different tasks, and it just goes on. So each of those work packages end up getting a file, and whatever you upload as part of your task gets reflected here. So it is just loading it as part of an activity which a consultant does. He just thinks that he's loading it, but it gets into the project repository or the document repository for that particular project. You don't have to follow on or get the information about where the files are, because we've seen that happen where the customer asks for few information about a file which they want to look at, and you might have to get in touch with the consultant to get that file. So all those kinds of stuff are eliminated here, because it isn't just the consultant who approves the file, but also uh, the customer. The customer is also somebody who maintains the file, who just shares information, and who adopted the platform very seamlessly, if I could put it. So whatever file they want to upload, and there is due diligence in terms of the authorizations, because that's one major thing. Uh, Somebody who's up this particular process cannot look into what happens in the other process. So all of those are handled, and that's exactly how, from your timeline or your project plan, the platform will derive a document structure or skeleton, and also imbibe the files against those task items, and show in here. So if I want to search for something which I see information which I want to look at, I can do that as well. So EWM. So I get a list of files underneath that. So as of now, this particular project is in
Uh-huh.
the realized phase, in the
Got it.
realization, but I can
Mhm.
do that. I can cover that. When you did your fit gap analysis, like you rightly mentioned, you will have different backlogs getting created
Mhm.
in the name of user stories.
Yeah.
And from the backlog ID, you will be generating different custom objects or configurations. And
Mhm.
we call it components. Like it can be a backlog. Once again, I'm just stopped by one of my this Zoom interface. So this can be a backlog, or there can be enhancements, or workflows, or interfaces are present. And these interfaces will have a direct linkage to a process. There are two things here. One are these user story based items. The other is fit gap analysis. Now, fit gap analysis is just one single task as part of your project plan. but you need to do fit gap analysis for like 100 different process items, right? And each of that comes under different consultant or a stakeholder. Uh, so how can the platform allow you to do that? So you can just have, I mean, let's say as part of your fit gap analysis, these are the 4 set of tasks you need to do. Like, for example, let's say as part of fit gap analysis workshop, I need the conduct to, I mean, the workshop to be conducted and a document to be prepared, and then a sign off to happen as part of that particular fit gap analysis workshop. So once you define a template, you can just go back to you clone and create. Let's say, I want to say fit gap analysis is the one, and I want to conduct fit gap analysis for period end closing, month end closing, ordering, plant, assessment cycles. I mean, all the process items in general. So once you do that, and once you select your fit gap analysis, your tasks for each of those fit gap analysis tasks will be generated, and you can just assign it to your different stakeholders involved or the consultants, and set up the plan and plan start date and end date, and you just have it as part of your project plan. So if I go to my project plan or all tasks page, I'll be able to find what this task is and how it is linked. It is linked to a process. So this fit gap analysis happened for period and closing maintenance orders. So have to sum it up. You have your project plan there, you have your tasks, you have your files, you have your sign-offs, you have your stakeholder management happening, and you have your process items. The only thing that was missing was your events or meetings or training workshops which you conduct. So you can set up training workshops as part of the platform. You can just create an event, and this can trigger your iCal meeting invite to your email. I'll show you the email notifications, and you can just launch a meeting and take all of the meeting notes which you want to take and have the discussions and upload files here. The best part here, which I waited to cover, was the MOM downloads. So the platform will allow creation of your MOM documents, your task documentation, your issue documentations as part of the platform. You just have your meeting or have a task. You can go into a task and download it, which will generate a task documentation for that particular task item. So all of those issue documentations, process documentations, task documentations are seamlessly handled. And looking at how it looks like, uh, the document template is configurable project to project, because we understand a system integrator can have a project template, or the system integrator can also follow a customer's document template. So all of those can be managed within the platform where the documentation is seamlessly taken care. And then we have, I'll get back to the thing. So this was more like a summary where from the timeline, your control center, your task items, your sign-offs, your files, and the forum. Forum is more in terms of collaborations where you can create a thread, more like Teams or LinkedIn posts where you just create a thread and you have people commenting and collaborating on it, more from a collaboration standpoint. But the major aspect which I wanted to cover was how the platform can take care in terms of the management, in terms of the excellence, in terms of tracking the stand-up calls or the documentations and the sign-offs or the approvals to happen, and seamless integrity between your processes as well as your project items. There are push notifications that comes as part of your desktop, just like how you have Teams, and then there are push notifications, mail notification that comes as part of your email because you signed in using your email. You get notifications about any task that gets assigned to you or any overdue items which you have, and your daily stand-up report, or any work item which you created and somebody updated it, or any sign-off which you've been assigned, everything. And not just that, also some Teams notifications if it is integrated with your Microsoft Teams or Google Chat. So all of these notifications, or what we call as latent follow-up mechanisms that happen, they get covered as part of the platform. Let me go. If in terms of tasks, you have your own analytics or widgets where you can plan it. And let's say you have a list of task items and you would want to see it like across different users and across different uh, phases. Like let's say under prepare, I under a status and with a type. So with an owner or with against a user story. So you'll be able to slice and dice based on however you want in terms of looking into the task. Like let's say I want to group my task items by a user story, and then by a face, and by the status items, and by the one by an owner who has it, and then by a type of it, or when is it planned, or when is it completed, or something like that. Or I want to do any order you want.